Hello, everybody. Um, what time is it? 9:18. I'm tired. Been up for 26 hours, almost exactly, straight, working hard. Let me get my telestrator ready. And there it is. Very good. Share my screen. Perfect. All right. So let me go look over at the YouTube and ask a couple of questions. All right, good. So we'll get to reading a few of the chats, both from Discord on our uh, Patreon Discord supporter side, and then we'll go over here and look at the YouTube chat. A few things to keep in mind here as we look at this. Uh, Helene is big, it is strengthening, and it is going to be extremely disruptive. None of that's changed at all. A very, very large hurricane. And um, you can see there's very cold cloud tops starting to show up again. We'll use blue here, right there. That's terrible. Got to get the stroke thicker there. And um, the eye starting to try to develop, and it has, well, it's probably less than 12 hours to go till landfall. But I think what is really significant here is what the National Hurricane Center said. Sometimes you got to look at exactly what they are saying and understand what that means. And it's right here. Number one, Helene becomes a category two. And then the second part, with significant additional strengthening expected before landfall in Florida. And that is important because there is time for this to ramp up to a solid category three, and that certainly ups the ante for significant impacts. And so the three main things I want to focus on in my presentation today, my discussion, would be, of course, the storm surge. That is just going to be a nightmare. And the peak surge values down here, as we can see, I mean, we're talking like that, you just don't see that often. 15 to 20 feet in the purple between Suwannee River and Carabel. And then outside of that, you have, anywhere from 4 to 7 feet. The Florida Keys, a foot to 3 feet. And even on the southeast coast, up Flagler Volusia line up to the South Santee River, 1 to 3 feet. But that 15 to 20, you're talking almost as high as a two-story building where the water could come in, pushed ahead by this hurricane, and it goes above ground level by 20 feet. Nobody can overstate enough how important it is that people that live, especially in this purple that I'm now drawing over in red, you get the heck out. All right, you got to go. And, wherever, friend's house, just a few miles up the road, hang out in your car if you don't have enough money for a hotel. I understand. But, your life is valuable and you don't want to have your family and your friends worry about you. Don't second guess and try to think, well, maybe it'll do this or I hope it'll do that. This is very serious. And maybe we get lucky, but what if we don't? Maybe we get lucky that the hurricane doesn't have the wind field and the strength that we were thinking, and the models overdid it. Because these are peak surge values, by the way. This is sort of your worst case scenario. But even the low end of these, 15 feet, is still very, very dangerous. So please evacuate. We saw some people in St. Mark's just a few hours ago, and they were like, yeah, we're going to stay. And I was kind of bummed out about that. It reminded me of some folks that I saw in East Point and in Mexico Beach right before Michael made landfall in 2018, and they said that they were going to stay, and we saw how that turned out. So the storm surge remains the absolute number one concern of mine and, of course, the National Hurricane Center here. But then beyond that, let me just jump over real quick to the Tropical Tidbit site again. And let's see if I can get this toolbar to just leave me alone. Will it move? It will move. That's awesome. So I want to go to the forecast models. And in this situation, we're not looking to see where's it going to go? What's it going to do? I want to show you the wind field of this system and just how big and damaging this is going to be. That is an enormous wind field for a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. You don't usually see them this big. And that is going to make its way, that wind field, the whole thing. That is the hurricane. The hurricane is not a dot. We know that, right? But look at that. This thing comes in and it strengthens. This is the 6Z run. It strengthens before landfall, and then it is still pretty strong. What is that, 979 or something like that? And just look at the enormity of this wind field, even off the coast of the Carolinas here, and then up in the western part of the state. This is Friday morning, and with that wind is also going to be a tremendous amount of rain. The power outage situation that is coming up for people all along this area through here over the next few days is going to be stunning. Millions of people are going to be without power. And let's just look at the track of the center of this thing, the low center right there, back it up. So we get a landfall in the Big Bend just before or just as it's getting dark tonight. That's a real bummer. Maybe this thing can hurry up and get in before dark. That's helpful in a lot of levels. Then it comes inland and it's over southeast Georgia. And then it pivots around this upper level low, which is not inherent here because this is a surface map, but your upper level low is going to be sitting over here. And the two are just kind of going around each other. And we call that the Fujiwara effect. And, Charlotte and, we mentioned Atlanta yesterday. Maybe they're going to be looking better now. We'll have to see. But Charlotte, big problems there, perhaps, for the airport on Friday, heading towards a weekend. And then the other thing I really want to point out is, and this is really, really important. I want you to pay attention to this if you have friends and family that are in the trucking business. All right. So we have Interstate 10 that roughly goes across here, Interstate 75 that comes up through Georgia, and in the Carolinas, you've got I-26 that comes through here, and 77, just all these different interstates, right? Please, 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 please tell your trucking companies that your spouse, your loved one, whomever, friend, relative, son, daughter, cousin, aunt, uncle, whatever. They work for a trucking company. They need to be grounded later today and not travel I-10 through the part of Florida where this is going to be impacting. We have seen truckers killed, and we already dealt with enough during the pandemic with supply chain issues. Something like this that is easily identifiable. We can wrap our brain around it. We know that's a big storm coming. Don't drive it. Look, loads have to get places or people don't get paid. I try to understand that, but it's not worth your life. And I hope these trucking companies will look at this and say, yes, everybody hang out at the truck rest area 50 miles east of the worst or 50 miles west of the worst. We don't want this to be something that disrupts our very valuable truckers, right? All along this area over the next couple of days. I've seen it too many times. One of my colleagues actually rescued a trucker after he crashed with Hurricane Zeta in 2020 on I-10 in Mississippi over in Hancock County. So, that's really the surge, the wind, and then, of course, we've got the rainfall. I want to address that real quick because this, too, is going to be a huge concern for, obviously, the panhandle of Florida, the Big Bend area, but then up here in the western parts of the Carolinas, northeast Georgia, just excessive rainfall, and that has triggered the potential for flash flooding. We can click on that right here. High risk, obviously, where we're getting the landfall today, and it's already been wet, and a high risk of flooding up here in extreme northwest South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina. Flooding. I mean, you don't think water, you need water to survive. You get too much of it, you get the ponding. I mean, talk about truckers, you got to slow down even if you're just driving through these rain bands because you can hydroplane. The rain is an impact. It's a huge impact. And just a reminder, again, actually, this is a good idea. If you're up here in uh, this area, you've got time to go and get some of these quick dams I've been telling you about. If you've been watching me for the last several months, couple of years now, really, or it's been a year. That's right. Time flies when you're having a great partnership, right? Quick dams, the people that we work with, the flood mitigation, um, the much better than sandbags. So you've got time. You go to Lowe's, you go to Home Depot, and you say, look, I need some quick dam flood bags. Where are they? And you can get ready much faster than dealing with sandbags. You literally walk out with a box of these things. This is what that kind of stuff is for, because this is a very serious situation here. And then it'll just kind of rain itself out and get entangled with that upper level low. The remnants of Helene will, and that'll be that. And we wait and see what else is happening in the tropics, which, by the way, just going back to the Hurricane Center homepage, it is kind of bizarre out there. There we go. We've got Helene over here, Isaac way up in the northern latitudes, and this is Invest Area 98L, which could go on to develop, it looks like. And then in the East Pack, John made landfall as a hurricane, decided to come back out in the East Pack and be a hurricane again. It's just bizarre. What a weird year it has been for the weather. All right, so a few things I want to show you. We have been putting out these cameras and weather station, pressure sensors, wind sensors, and I wanted to show you the results of that. So let me see. Let me go through my different tabs here. So off the hurricanetrack.com site, which has been around since '99, we have this wonderful back-end site for our supporters who invest in it. It's a full circle called the Hurricane Track Insider site. That is what that looks like. And then from there, they have access to these fancy tracking tools, which are really amazing. And this is all the work that we've been doing over the last 26 hours, covering a lot of ground to do just this. Let's start up here in St. Mark's. All right, so in St. Mark's, we have two cameras waiting for my Wi-Fi at the hotel here to catch up. This is one of them. This is the other one. And we will be able to monitor potentially, remember that 15 to 20 feet? As long as the network stays up down there, we'll be able to monitor this. This is very important. And we got two now. We've had cameras here dating all the way back to 2016 with Hurricane Hermine. Then down in Steinhatchee, I don't know why it says camera one and camera two. I think there might have been a miscommunication between me and our back end team, but that's actually over in St. Mark's on the St. Mark's River, our weather station and the camera that goes with it. And then this is actually in Steinhatchee, down there on Riverside Drive or whatever it is, to monitor the surge that comes up the Steinhatchee River. Further south, of course, Cedar Key, where we have several, so we can zoom in. See, I told you this thing was cool. Up at our friend Scott's hideaway, the low-key hideaway, as it's called, the camera inside, and this is going to be remarkable. We had that last year with Adalia. We have an even better camera this year, and an exterior camera. I take this full screen for you just to show you. This is really going to be helpful to understand how storm surge does what it does, and for Scott to monitor his property and his friends and his colleagues. So that's what this whole project does. It's remarkable. And we have a great bunch of people that help us to make it happen. So these are the results of what we have been doing. Here is Crystal River. I'm very concerned about this. It's been going in and out. That's fine. I know it'll come back on. A little bit of a weird signal down there, I think. And then, of course, we put a couple of them in the Tampa area. This was out on the Courtney Campbell Causeway, Parkway, whatever it's called. Go full screen on it. You know, 4, 5, 6, 7 feet of surge. Possible this all could go underwater by later today as Helene goes by. This is up on Bayshore. And some of our back end team members put this up. Already looks like it's starting to flood there. Geez. So this could have several feet, maybe 5 to 8 feet. Wouldn't that be something? We'll be able to actually see it as it happens. And we have immersed you in the effects, these impacts. So that's just a good example of it. And there's different ways. This is our weather station page, and this is our dashboard where they're all just lined up. So this is all through our Patreon that we've got to help support the project, to help bring us together as a community. And you can sign up. And if you want to stick around after this hurricane, we'd love to have you. Seriously, we do winter storms, we study hail, we do severe weather alerts, and then we're back to hurricane season again. It's become a year-round, fantastic community. You simply go to Patreon. It's a crowdfunding site and phenomenon, really. And you look for Hurricane Track, Hurricane TRACK, just like it says right there. Look for the logo. You can sign up, and you can move too laterally as you move through, the winter months or whatever. You might want to change your pledge amount. That's fine, and we're just glad to have you because you can help support the project as we go forward. All right, so let's go jump over here and see what you guys are talking about on YouTube first. Then I'll backtrack. And I got a scam call coming in. Those are always fun, aren't they? Hey, I'm on the YouTube live. Leave me alone. So let's see. Yep, there's Kathy, been a Patreon supporter since 2017. I appreciate that. So what's the ETA? The Ugly Truth wants to know, what's the ETA? That brings up a very good question. The ETA for what? And I'm not trying to be a smart aleck by asking that, but the ETA for tropical storm force winds, hurricane force winds, the storm surge, or the landfall of the eye. Well, those are all different things. So we have to understand that. And so to answer that question, you can go over to the National Hurricane Center homepage, click on Hurricane Helene, and then these are the arrival time of the winds and when they are expected, and the different stages of the winds, the 3 days most likely, 5-day wind speed probabilities, it's all right there. But in terms of surge and the eye itself, that's an ongoing process. These things do not have a schedule per se, like we do in our Google calendars. So that's a hard question to answer, right? Oh yeah, the Hurricane Highway song. You remember that from yesterday? That AI generated theme song that we've got. That's pretty cool. Okay, yeah, spooky. So yes, that's the other thing. We have a great group of moderators, and our patrons have helped to literally develop the site. I can't do everything. I'm not a coder and an engineer and a 3D printer and a CAD designer and all that stuff. So we have all these people that help us out with all of that. And we get these great back-end projects that go on, like these time lapses. I'm telling you, the connection to Patreon and what we're doing with our community, it's just incredible. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Kari, also known as Spooky. What else? Let's see, headed back out to put more cameras up or hanging tight at the hotel. Yes, we will be going back out later after I wrap this up in a few minutes. I'm going to get some much needed sleep. Have I got just giant bags under here or what? I haven't even looked. And then about 3 o'clock, I'll get up and we're going to go back out. We got one more weather station we want to deploy. The goal is to get that weather station right in the right front quadrant of Helene, wherever that comes ashore, away from the coast, of course, probably up on I-10 somewhere. We're thinking that the center and the core could go over St. Mark's, but that right-hand side over here, once it gets up to the coast, somewhere along I-10, maybe Madison, maybe points west to Monticello, east side of Tallahassee, somewhere around there. You got these interchanges with these Jersey Wall bridges, and we can literally put one of these weather stations on there like you see right there. And I know it says Steenhatchee, but that was mislabeled. Let's refresh and see if our back-end guy got the message yet. Not yet, but that's all right. He will. But I want to do this later today with our second weather station, as we know where that core is going to come in, because this is actually down in St. Mark's, not Steenhatchee. And I want to be able to compare the two over distance, especially as Helene comes in and starts to decline, hopefully. And then we'll also be out in the eye at some point to get the measurements of the center of the eye. We should be able to use Interstate 10 to do that nice and safe. Any questions over here on the Discord? I don't see any. A lot of people go to the YouTube chat because they've got YouTube as well. So that makes sense. A couple more, and then I'm gonna seriously go to sleep. Um, so yeah, the water is definitely rising quick out there. So Carl W., I'm located in Lloyd between Tallahassee and Monticello. We're gonna, hopefully it's Monticello, right? We're gonna write it out. How bad is it going to get? I can't tell if we're gonna be east or west. Models aren't agreeing. So here's the best way to understand it. Carl W., how bad is it going to get? It will be a solid hurricane hit at night. And so to me, that says it's going to be frightening. It really will. The roaring energy that hits, it makes the whole building shake depending on what you're in. That could be very damaging. You're going to lose power. And then it's just going to be all night long. That's the other part of this. It's going to come in near dark and it's going to last for a couple hours and then it'll be over, but you're still stuck in the dark. So I think it's going to be pretty nasty on that eastern side. And it just depends on how well the core gets developed as well. And we just can't predict that, what the core is going to look like at landfall. But honestly, Carl, I think it's going to be a pretty big jolt to people who aren't used to it, who maybe went through one and they were on the weaker side. If you're on the east side of this one, I think it could be pretty bad. Weeki Wachi, I was there a couple years ago with the family. All right, so I'm going to roll this up and I got to get some sleep. I do appreciate you tuning in. The good news is, among other things, we are going to be live from the vehicle once we're back out later. So I'll put a little notice on the YouTube community of when I expect that we will do that. Probably 4 o'clock. That's what I'm thinking Eastern time. So myself, Greg, and our other colleague, Marcel, he's got a truck. We will all be out there live to carefully get into the core of this thing near Tallahassee, between there and probably Madison as it comes up, to get those eye readings. And with our Starlink and our backup Verizon there in the vehicle, we should be live the whole time. So I hope you join in. And we're going to literally take you from all of these cameras that I just showed you here somewhere. There it is. We're going to take you from looking at all of these to the core of this thing between, again, Tallahassee and Madison or something like that. That's pretty remarkable that we can do that. And it's, pretty much thanks to you guys. It is because of you and it is for you. And I really mean that. So let me drop off here, stop sharing the screen so I can turn my camera off. I know it takes a few seconds for Zoom to process all this through YouTube. And then I'm going to go to bed and sleep like a champ, as they say. But thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Thanks for your support. Thank you for your super chats. Thank you for signing up and being a supporter of this. Again, I hope you'll stick around far beyond this hurricane and see what we're really all about and the true heart and soul of this project. All right. So yeah, I'm going to kill the feed, at least